welcome to the Tapped Out Wrestling Podcast. I'm Nick McDaniel. This week again, I am joined once again by Heath Mulligan. What's going on, buddy?
Man, not a whole lot. Honored to be sitting in this chair, and obviously, thoughts and prayers and all the good things continue to go out to Myron and his family. And yeah, man, just excited to talk wrestling. Excited to be a part of the show.
Yeah, man. And look, if you really want to be a part of the show, we always encourage you. You can become a member over at patreon.com/tappedoutpod. Get the show early, get all the bonus content. Heath's just chunking out bonus content. We're all getting on board. We're all trying to do it. Look, I'm just a regular, I just want to watch the show every week. I don't want to do, I just like the YouTube model. It's still there, folks. Tappedoutpod.com takes you right to the YouTube page. All of the 2 weekly shows will always be there. It's just no more paid memberships there. They have all transitioned back over to Patreon again at patreon.com/tappedoutpod. And man, it's like, look, we're putting stuff up there like that national indie calendar that Phil Stamper puts together. We're putting in the show notes. So a lot of times people tell me like, hey man, I'm used to getting the show notes, like at lunchtime. Yeah, it happens. Lots of stuff like that. Look, the extra stuff is like, we did a couple last week. I know I've got like 3 or 4 that you have done to upload this week. So even on a Thanksgiving week, we're still dumping stuff in there for you, whether it's 10, 15 minutes inside the mind of Heath, if it's both of us going for half an hour to an hour when we promised it was going to be a 20-minute segment, something like that. It happens, man. It just really, really does. And it's really fun when we can dive in. But we highly encourage tappedoutpod@gmail.com. Send us the things you're looking for. But look, go sign up for a free account. I can't stress enough. Even a free account on Patreon. Look, every now and then I'm throwing coupons out to the free members. It's, you can, if you're a paid member, I'm offering like specials to bump up a level, all these kind of things. Patreon's kind of where you want to be because you could still get, by the way, Apple Podcast. Hey, where's the feed? Go sign up for a free membership. They'll give you the RSS to add it to your Apple Podcast. It'll still be there. Spotify as well, YouTube Premium, anywhere and everywhere. We're still there, and just take advantage of that. And if you have any questions, feel free. It's happened to several people. I've gotten messages on Facebook. I've had people tappedoutpod@gmail.com asking me how to do it. There's a video of how to add that RSS link on our free. That's why you should go sign up for the free membership. Go back through the history. It'll teach you how to do that, and it's pretty simple, to be honest with you.
A couple of things we're going to be doing, or that I'm working on. We talked about this week, is going into Cage Match and adding the show results we're getting, because a lot of these Georgia promotions are not on Cage Match. So, and to do that for our benefit, so at the end of the year, I can search a guy and I can see his wins and losses in Georgia and beyond. But also, one of the things I'm going to be doing in the month of December is getting in front of a dry erase board on the Patreon and going through, okay, this is where we're at the end of the year in Southern Honor. This is where we started. Joe Black's your champion now. How did he get here? And kind of doing some year-end review things where we look at the booking and, hey, maybe there was a pivot somewhere. I'm excited. Just deeper dives into, listen, no one gets into the minutia of independent wrestling more than a single guy who's an empty nester and lives right next to where he works. So anyway, that's so you're all the beneficiaries of me not having much of a life.
Well, it's also like, hey, that's why we're going to WrestleCade this week. There's a whole lot of things, right? There's a lot of stuff that goes on. And look, just like last year, I have a sneaking suspicion somewhere in a Marriott bar, I'll have my phone landscaped and we will be watching Survivor Series.
Yes. Yes.
And that's one of the things we wanted to talk about this week, was this is huge. I mean, Survivor Series is one of the big 4. It has been for a long time, obviously, since it's one of the OG pay-per-views. Now PLEs, call it what you will. Is there anything like in a broad scope before we dive into the minutia of it for Survivor Series, like that just it's on the top of your, head about Survivor Series this year?
If fans watch the show consistently, I don't have cable. I don't watch WWE consistently. I'm excited to start when they're on Netflix. However, I watch the big four PLEs every year. So one thing I love about WWE is for a fan like me, they're going to catch me up. Now, I do follow some of the stuff because we do this show. To me, though, this feels like, and I think this is maybe a good thing, this Survivor Series feels like it's just a thread in the stories. Like this is not going to be, I don't think anybody thinks this is kind of like bringing an end to anything. This is kind of just kicking a lot of things off.
Oh yeah, this is the next piece of the puzzle. And look, everybody's like, it revolves around the bloodline. That is heavily what this, look, it is. It's without a shadow of a doubt. It is the next cog in the machine of the bloodline story. I had a friend of mine, I saw him this week. He's an author. He writes books, and we were talking, and he tells his students, writing students, about some of the greatest stories ever told are in wrestling.
Mm-hmm.
Because they have that, they have the episodic way they can tell the story over and over. And he's like, and it's chapter books. It's like everything's a chapter, and then it goes to another book, and then it goes to another book. Same main characters bouncing. I think we kind of all believed Survivor Series is just the next chapter in this bloodline story. So the big news this past week, obviously, was the return of Paul Heyman, and he brings out CM Punk as the 5th member of the bloodline team. Look, we called this a little bit. We said, hey, it made the most sense. Even the logic, by the way, down to the logic, if you read lips, and everybody that is on social media apparently can, they've put out there, he tells Roman, this isn't about us. This is about me and him. Like, this is Paul Heyman calling in a favor, exactly like we kind of were like, hey, it makes total sense. Although I did want to ask you, there was one thing that was brought out, that why Punk makes the most sense. Like, I get it, Cody teamed up with Roman because they had a mutual enemy. But when you start to, like, Seth Rollins wouldn't join the team because of everything they'd done to him. Lots of guys were like, absolutely not. It was a reign of terror by Roman Reigns, and he basically attacked us all. It was great that somebody brought up a point of, did you actually, though, if you think about it, he never really did anything to CM Punk.
Right. I mean, the last real interaction CM Punk would have had. Sorry, we got a fire alarm going off here at Mulligan. The last interaction CM Punk would have had with Roman Reigns was if and when the Shield gave him a triple power bomb. CM Punk has been gone from the WWE for the entire rise, and then over the last year, the fall of Roman Reigns. He wasn't here for any of it.
Because remember, he returned at the Survivor Series last year. That story kind of didn't really fall apart until WrestleMania. Well, right. Even in that little short window, remember, he got hurt in the Rumble.
Yes.
So he wasn't even, like, that window was so small of the overlap that he's never done technically, he's never done anything to CM Punk. CM Punk doesn't have a reason to hold a massive grudge against him. He doesn't have to like what he did all that time he was gone.
Right.
But what did he ever do to you? Nothing.
So to me, at the end of the day, I like my wrestling to be logical, and this is very logical. This is just such a multi-layered story. I mean, they're just doing some really good things. And we're talking about the story. It's a War Games match. This is going to be a great match. And I wouldn't put it past CM Punk to leave a little blood in the ring.
He's going to bleed because it'll make sense.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And there's probably going to be no glass involved. It'll probably just be, straight up cage stuff. But I want to also, though, bring up this theory that I've seen floating out there. And I don't know if you've seen it. There's if you notice, a lot of people are reading into the outfit Paul Heyman had on.
Yes.
With the red shirt under the suit. He was tan too. Where's he been? He's been at the beach, that's for sure. Or he's in a tanning bed. But a lot of people are saying his clothes matched Solo's.
Yeah, it very much did. And the reason I believe that this was not an accident is Paul Heyman always wears a tie. And he wasn't wearing a tie this time. And so is this a foreshadowing that he's wearing the same colors Solo was wearing when Solo turned on Roman? I don't know. But the attention to detail, sign me up for it. I'm here for it. What's next for Paul Heyman? Who knows?
Even if you go back and watch the video, if you notice, he glances over at Jay and winks. And then he turns back around and looks at Roman with a look. And it's like, could they? Like, I thought we were on this is us assuming, I thought we were on that come around now where Roman's redeeming himself. They've already taken everything from him. Like, if Solo were to take Paul Heyman, do we start the falling back again? Or how about the craziness? Somebody threw out this. This is not going to happen. I don't believe this is going to happen. But how wild would it be if they were to get him in War Games and they all turned and joined Solo? If Jimmy and Jay and Sammy and Paul, they all shift. Now, granted, it's not going to happen. I get it. It's not going to happen. That's just too putting him, the beat down inside of War Games. But you never know. Could it be Sami Zayn be the one who turned? Could Jay be like, no, dude, I'm not forgiving you. All these little pieces, like it could be pretty wild to say the least.
It's definitely, one of the hallmarks of good storytelling is when you give yourself so many options that would make sense.
Mm-hmm.
And any of that would make sense because Roman Reigns, it was a reign of terror. He took out everybody. And I'm here for it. I'm excited. Again, I mentioned I'm excited to be able to have access to Monday Night Raw.
And you're going to come in at the peak of it too, because they've clearly, Netflix has asked for Roman, so that story is probably going to be on a Raw product that you're going to get on Netflix. And my only question, and we'll move on after this, I wanted to ask you, like, how can you end this at this point? Like, there's so many pieces to the puzzle. I don't even mean here. Like, how do we get out of this story? Like, does Roman have to? Because I've heard a theory. Here's a crazy one for you. What if, hypothetically, they've already just set up the table. It's going to be Cody versus Rock at WrestleMania, People's Champion versus WWE Champion.
Right.
What if Roman wins the Rumble, and he goes, nope. Here's the crazy. You ready for this?
Mm-hmm.
What if it's not Cody's title he challenges for? What if he says, I want Rock's title. I want that People's Championship. So now we get the three-way we thought we were going to get last year. But it's Rock is after Cody's title. Roman is after, or do you do the double? You know what I mean? Like, there's all these missing, these puzzle pieces that shift around. Here's where we're happy. I'm happy the fact, like you said, we don't sit here now and go, we know exactly where we're going.
Right. I think last year, when people say, well, why is WrestleMania 2 nights? Last year was the perfect example of why what you can do in the main event when WrestleMania is 2 nights. They told a great story. I've not watched that documentary of behind the scenes stuff. I don't know what I believe, because I think where they ended with the tag team match one night, I think that was pretty brilliant. And so, yeah, January to WrestleMania season is peak wrestling fandom for sure.
And they're not here's the thing. They're not letting up, because in the past, it's always been a thing. Now, late February, because here's the thing we know. Survivor Series is huge. No Cody Rhodes. We're going to get to that in a second. No Cody Rhodes.
Yes.
Because they're giving us something in between. Well, then, for the first time maybe in history, it appears as though the WWE is letting their guys have the holidays.
Yes. They did this last year, the year before, maybe, where they kind of had a week and a half or 2 weeks off.
Yeah.
Between Christmas and New Year's.
Rumble's even pushed further back. It's February 1st. So, let's get away from college football championships, Super Bowl. Let's just pick a time. Let's just avoid all of that. Go to that date. And, oh, by the way, you know why? Because early January, we're going to get, I consider what I think Netflix's debut, Raw on Netflix, will be a PLE level show.
Oh, to quote you, 1,000%. Yeah. That's going to happen. That's going to be like getting a pay-per-view on a Monday night.
And we've heard the story. There's a rumor out there that it is Rock versus Cody on the Netflix show.
Would not.
Can you imagine?
Because now you're no longer giving that. This isn't back when we were talking about Monday Nitro, giving stuff away on TV. You're not giving anything away for free. It's all paid. They are copying TNA. TNA's early business model. Every week you're paying for it. Well, I guess that's true with cable, but
here's a weird one. What if, and I promise you we're going to move on because we want to talk about Cody Rhodes specifically. What if Cody Rhodes were to lose on Netflix's debut to The Rock? Rock is now your WWE champion / People's champion. Roman wins the Royal Rumble and says he's challenging Rock. Cody goes on and wins the Elimination Chamber because that's a match Cody would win over the Rumble because you can't get Cody 3 years in a row, right?
Right.
But he can win the Chamber because that's a match right up his alley, like Survive and, in his, whatever. Then he wants them. We still can get to that triple threat because they've both earned the right to fight whoever they want to. Because, by the way, everybody's like, well, what about Gunther? Gunther, in my take, is still at this point is going to steamroll everybody until he gets to Goldberg at WrestleMania.
Yes.
So.
Yeah, WWE is hot. Yeah. Hot.
So now we'll get back to the Cody Rhodes thing we were discussing. Look, no Cody Rhodes on the Survivor Series because the big thing between Survivor Series and even the Netflix debut is for the first time, and I know there's a date, I just can't remember it off the top of my head, how long it's been. December 14th, in prime time, we're getting a Saturday night main event. How crazy is that?
Yes, and there's not a whole lot of football that day. We're not into the NFL playoffs yet. Not a lot of college bowl games at that point. And they are going to pop a big number because this is a match. This is a match that's been building to. This is a match, Kevin Owens. I did see his promo on Cody Rhodes, and it was just so good. So good. Kevin Owens, at this point, I think is he's a guy that doesn't need a title. He's just good no matter what you put him in.
He's nailing it. That is, I know there's a tale of, hey, is he leaving? Like his contract, Kevin Owens' contract's up at the end of the year. Is he going to leave? My question to most people has been more this. Why would he leave?
Kevin Owens grew up dreaming of working for WWE. I don't think his dream was to be a wrestler. His dream was to be a wrestler for the WWE. He has commanded, he's in the prime of his career for earnings. The WWE schedule is not the meat grinder that it used to be. I think he's pretty happy. I don't think he's going anywhere.
No. Now listen, if he walked away, I think he's done more than anything. Because I don't know that he has. Did he have his Ring of Honor like that style of wrestling match? Like, did he get? Listen, I'm not trying to be disrespectful when I say this. Did he get that part of his out of his system? Like, he's like, hey, look, I've done those style matches. I've done it, and I did it for way little pay.
Yeah.
It's all to. I think now it's going to come down to dollars. It's not even creative, I don't think, with Kevin Owens at this point. I think it's going to come down to dollars. And look, could Tony Khan pay him more? Sure, probably so.
Yeah.
But because a lot of guys are like, hey, I'm going to go over there and work with my friends. Well, his best friend's in WWE.
Right.
So I don't think that's. But one other thing I did want to ask you, because Cody's going to be defending that title against him. That's kind of the one thing we've got that we know of at the moment. Recently, there's been a little chatter that we kind of went back and forth about people arguing, well, people always complain about Roman never defending that title. Well, Cody's kind of doing the same. He's not defending it on Survivor Series. I'm like, well, he's doing it like a couple weeks later. He's defending it on a Saturday Night Main Event.
Right.
But my thing to you was I made the comment of, yeah, but he's doing it on house shows that Roman wasn't even on.
Right. Right. Cody's schedule, much more. He's wrestling a lot more than Roman Reigns. Now, somebody might pull up the schedule and say, well, Heath, you're wrong. I would listen to that. But it seems like Cody's working house shows that Roman was not working.
Roman just wasn't working house shows, period.
Like yeah.
Yeah.
And that was the deal he signed. And, people talk about the really long reign that he had. And then you look at the number of title defenses, and but that's the era we're living in. Mm-hmm. The champion's not defending the title 7 days a week around the country anymore. Do you think does that elevate the title or devalue the title?
I think it kind of, and here's the thing. I think it depends on the guy. Like with Roman, I felt like it was a positive, him doing it rare, because it did aggravate people. People really were like, I really want to see him beaten.
Yes.
With Cody being the baby face, and he's the face of the company, and he's out there with the fans and other, it works in his best interest to be there every night and defend it, because then he's a fighting champion. It's all about how you're painting the person, the character, if you want to, how you're painting that person. That helps either way. So it did not bother me in the least. By the way, I always with Roman, I thought it was a good thing that he never did, and now I think it's a great thing that Cody does it.
Yeah, it's two different. It's really two different stories that they're trying to tell, and it works with the superstars they're trying to tell them with. So, I will be, Saturday night's main event. I will be tuning into that and seeing what's going on that night. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Other news for this week before we get into our Indies talk here a little bit. Me and you kind of chuckled. We talked a little bit on yesterday's episode about some AEW stuff and about kind of how they can't win for losing. And the latest topic of that is so they come out with this. They announce their winner schedule, their dates, their venues, and stuff like that. And we noticed lots of smaller venues in there. And then, of course, the next thing you know, on social media, everybody's just brutalizing them because they're running smaller venues. And what did you say your first reaction was? Like,
it's like they're doing exactly what you said you think they should be doing. It's like, what do you want? You're like, well, they need to be running smaller venues. That'll be better for business. So they run smaller venues, so it's better for business. You're like, see, they can't draw a crowd, so they're having to draw small. What? I wish just people would just shut up. I think you also pointed out it also feels like they're going very regional. When you get into January 1st, the 1st and the 4th, they're in North Carolina, and then they're in Tennessee, Georgia, Kentucky, back to Tennessee, Alabama. I mean, between January 1st and February 8th, they're between basically Charlotte and Houston, Texas. And then in February 11th, they're in Austin, Texas. Now, February 15th, they're in Australia, which is a totally different area code. But it feels like they're running regions again, which is a pretty smart business move.
keeping everybody in pockets. I mean, lots of things. But to kind of back to the smaller buildings, like you said, I mean, how long have we been saying that on the shows? Like, hey, listen, if you're not filling these 10, 15,000 seat arenas, man, just go smaller at 5,000, 3,000, whatever you're filling. Like, I get it. You could do a 5 and cross your fingers and hope you draw 5. If you're drawing 3 or whatever, or just go 3 and make it a hot ticket.
Go to towns that WWE is not running anymore. And remember that WWE hit a spot in the 90s where they were running high school gyms.
Yeah.
Like, when AEW starts running the Liberty Rec Center, then come talk to me. They had a great crowd. We talked about the pay-per-view yesterday. They had a great crowd at that pay-per-view. Rumors of their demise are highly exaggerated, I believe.
Listen, Buford is becoming a hotbed of wrestling.
Yes.
Tony Khan, if you need a hookup, the Buford Arena can hold 5,000-6,000 people.
Yes.
Give me a call, tappedoutpod@gmail.com. Give me an email, something. I'll put you in the connections with people. Maybe you can run that building. Plenty of parking, great town, lots of stuff to do in Buford. The Mall of Georgia is right down there. Plenty of hotel space. I mean, I just couldn't wrap my head around. Now, I do understand Eric Bischoff's take on it. Mm-hmm. He said, listen, financially and from a business perspective, 100% the right call to make. The credibility is going to take a hit because, look, we're just discussed it. All these people get on social media and start taking shots at you now because now you're having to run smaller buildings. So your credibility is going to take a hit. Sometimes put your ego in check and say, look, how many times in the history have we talked about WWE going, listen, you have to make the right move for the long term versus worrying about the short term. That is something they have done time and time again. Remember the joke of, hey, there was a time they were taking the water coolers out of Titan Towers. Probably didn't look good, and a lot of people trash it still to this day. I think they rebounded, and they've done okay.
Yes, and I think AEW, I don't know why so many people are pulling for them to, it feels like people are pulling for them to go out of business or fail. And I just don't get that. I just don't get that at all.
I enjoy their shows. And we literally think about this. I'm like, literally this past weekend, we had conversations with people that are getting a paycheck from that guy. And my argument is, why do I not want them to fail? Look, you can be critical and like, hey, I don't like this, or I'm not a fan of this, or maybe try to, that we all have that right, apparently, now because of social media. Uh-huh. But at the same time, there's 100+ wrestlers who probably have contracts, not to mention production and agents and people. Like, there's some of the nicest people on the planet that I know that have a job there because of this guy. And I'm like, dude, I don't want this company to go away because I don't want those people wondering, like, how they're going to, where's their paycheck going to come from wrestling. Yeah, sure, they could probably got real jobs. They can go out and do stuff. But I don't want that. I want them to be able to live their dream in pro wrestling, and that's why I think my hope is that it doesn't go anywhere.
And let's not forget, and make no mistake, the presence of AEW has been a catalyst for the improvement of WWE. 5 years ago, WWE's going to go out. WWE, the storytelling wasn't good. The product was stale. And now WWE is hot. Their crowds are hot. Their storytelling is on point in so many different ways. And so, AEW, great to have them around. I hope they're around for a long time.
Yeah, it can only benefit, television. It can benefit the fans, benefit the indie guys. Does WWE ID exist if AEW is not in here? I don't know. Probably, maybe, but we don't know that.
Right.
So,
right.
But speaking of the Indies, man, it's about that time we turn the corner and we do, go out and see the Indies this weekend. And that is, of course, in our segment that we do weekly, Making the Drives, brought to you by JMartinCompany.com for all your window cleaning, pressure washing, driveway, gutter cleaning, all that kind of stuff. That's who we contact and trust with our families and our friends, JMartinCompany.com. They do, look, every time mine needs it, that's who I call with outcomes. They are here, just like that car that's going off the screen. They are right here taking care of me, and they are always taking care of us as we make the drives every week. Well, man, it's not as many shows this weekend. It is a Thanksgiving weekend. Look, unfortunately, obviously, we won't be at any of the shows. We will be Winston-Salem, North Carolina at WrestleCade. Lots of shows there. But, it all kicks off. Every year it's become an annual tradition there at Southern Fried Championship Wrestling in Monroe, Georgia. The bell time is 7 p.m. right there at the Boys and Girls Club, 405 Community Court in Monroe. Southern Fried always puts on a banger of a show. It is always fun. Have you ever got to do any? I mean, I know you haven't done the Southern Fried. Have you ever done a Thanksgiving night show?
No, there's not been. To my knowledge, there was the 1 year WrestleCade that WWE did a Thanksgiving show in North Carolina. That kind of butted up, or maybe even went head to head with some of the WrestleCade stuff. But other than that, there just hasn't been an opportunity to do a Thanksgiving show.
Yeah, it's always fun to have that on options. Sometimes with the way Thanksgiving works at the house, sometimes we're doing our Thanksgiving at night, so I don't get to go. But it's always good to know that, like, hey, it's always an opportunity to go out. David Manders, Todd Sexton, all those guys put on an amazing show. This year will be no different, as this year, Ultimate Battleground is going to be on Thanksgiving night. Very Royal Rumble-like when we put it out to the masses. That's kind of the way I explain it. The two competitors start. It's 20 competitors. It's every man for himself. And it's cool because in Georgia, but my humble opinion, there's two people that do this type of match very well. It's Todd Sexton and it's Dylan Freimeyer. They both do really, really good at this type of thing, whether it's surprises or, whatever. Todd Sexton, as far as this goes, look, it's the storytelling and weaving it through this type of match. That's the challenge with this kind of match, in my opinion. You could just send 20 guys out there, but they do a spectacular job, and stories are told all night long, and it's absolutely why you want to check out this match. Anything about an Ultimate Battleground like you're kind of looking into?
Yeah, so is it the kind of deal where the winner gets a title shot or winner gets a contract, or that's where you got to really, who's kind of that next challenger for CT Keys? And if it's somebody that can survive and defeat 19 other competitors, and is this going to be a familiar name? Is this going to be someone like a Judas? Can you imagine if Jeter's in this match? Who's throwing Jeter over the top rope? Or is this an opportunity for a fresh face? Or, somebody to really kind of jump ahead of the line.
It's been a match where a lot of guys have they've been right there on the cusp. They've been on the edge, kind of like the Royal Rumble. And it's been one of those opportunities where guys take that leap, your David Ali's, CT Keys, like it becomes like, hey, we get it. They're right there on the cusp. Win this match. And it kind of vaults you to the front of the line and makes you, gives you just an opportunity to do so well. But speaking of another man with an opportunity, Billy Buck is getting an opportunity to get back what he thinks is rightfully his. That is the Classics Championship, as he will face Hunter James, your current champion, in a ladder match. Ladder matches are crazy and wild. I can't imagine with these two guys as athletic and, Billy Buck, the veteran that he is, how crazy this could be.
Billy Buck had a successful title defense at, I believe, Shindig, you and I were at. Won that ladder match. Hunter James is on a roll, and this time This time, Billy Buck, Hunter James is not alone. And so the odds are definitely stacked against Billy Buck in this match, because in a ladder match, you can have as much Hunter James's crew can interfere the entire match, and there's nothing they can do about it. So to me, if I were a betting man, I'm putting a lot of money on Hunter James. I think he's going to have a death grip on that Classics title for a while.
It's a numbers game, and they've been that's been playing out in front of us. That the Approved and Judias and Todd Sexton, they kind of got to figure out. Like we talked about this on the past episodes, they've got to get on the same page, or you're just always going to be outnumbered. It's kind of the old WCW NWO thing. They were all fractured into little pieces. NWO as a unit just kept out with the outnumber because they couldn't get there. They couldn't team, and that's kind of what it's going to take. I think the same thing. So if I'm Billy Buck, I mean, obviously you're probably going to bring out, because here's the thing, even if you bring out Judias and Todd Sexton with you, your friends, you're still outnumbered. That's the problem.
That's right.
So that is Thursday, Thanksgiving night, there in Monroe, Southern Fried Championship Wrestling. Bell time at 7 p.m. right there at the Boys and Girls Club, 405 Community Court. Check them out. Get all your, if you eat early, get all your turkey in, get all your dressing in, get all your other stuff in, then head on over to Monroe. There's a window opening that Nick may be able to make that drive and make that show before I head out the next morning. It's going to depend on how early we wrap up everything and see.
Yes.
But listen, I want to let you talk about this one, because this one's been building for weeks now, as SCA and Royston at the Royston Dome. Bell time's 8 o'clock as usual, folks. Black Friday's we're finally here.
Yeah, you and I were there the night they announced this show. The night that and that was the week they kind of announced, hey, we're going to be working these bigger shows in. I believe it's called Squared Off or something. And so many things. I mean, this is a packed night. First of all, you've got the election, the ongoing election. Who is going to be the consultant? Is it going to be Jonathan Feltner? Is he going to keep that job, or is it going to be John the Body Johnson, who's the current director of talent relations? It has gotten, like many elections, it has gotten very personal. And you can actually vote, fans, even if you're not in Royston. Here's how you can vote. All right. The number is 762-721-0893. That's 762-721-0893. And you either text the letter F for Feltner or J for Johnson. You could decide your vote matters. And whoever wins this is going to think they have a mandate to run Squared Circle Action Wrestling the way that they see fit. Now, Nick, I would never ask this. Who are you voting for?
Look, we teased this a little bit on yesterday's episode. You got to go Feltner, because he seems at the core he's got the best interest of Squared Circle Action, in mind, where we always talk about absolute power absolutely corrupts. Kind of seems the path that, John the Body Johnson's going down. So I think you got to lean that way. Not that I would want to influence anybody's vote. I'm just saying that's my opinion.
The fact that Johnson stole Feltner's phone, and knowing the very real hardships Jonathan Feltner has faced this year, he and his family, to use those to do, you got to get home, they need you. That crossed the line for me, and definitely influenced my vote. But it's going to come down to the fans, and that's going to be interesting. All the titles are on the line this night. The tag team championship is on the line as unrated take on Cirque de Delure. You and I saw Nikki Hyde and Ballinger successfully defend those titles. And Nikki Hyde and Ballinger, it really impressed you and I the night we saw them.
they came out, they looked like some stars, right? Like, that's just it. The presentation, sometimes presentation matters, folks. Sorry, it just does. And then they went out there, and of course they delivered in the ring. But we know Unrated is looking for a little revenge factor. So, and what we've talked about it again, spite, revenge, sometimes can be a powerful tool. So don't underestimate those two kids. They are kids, they're young, but they've had a little bit of that taste of success, and they probably, I'm guessing, they want it back.
You got the Friday night championship on the line in a street fight as Kyle Phillips is trying to get that title back from Chop Top. These guys have been going back and forth for months, and now in this street fight at Black Friday, going to settle the score. The number one contender match. These guys over the last couple of weeks have crossed paths. Caleb Crocker's trying to climb that ladder back to the top of SCA. Hunter James, who's pretty new to SCA. Hunter James basically trying to knock Crocker down a couple of notches, but they're going to be taking each other on one-on-one with the winner becoming the number one contender. The big question and the big match is who is going to walk out Friday night as the champion. We've been talking about this. It's Tower with Rick Page. He's over 225 days taking on Drox, who earned that title, winning the Monsters Ball Battle Royal about a month and a half ago. The tail of the tape is 100% in favor of Tower. But we mentioned yesterday the deciding factor may be that Drox has Taran in his corner to offset Rick Page to maybe keep this an actual one-on-one match.
And that's what he's going to need. Literally, that's it. Like, we've always talked about who can do it. Is it the size? We've always said it doesn't really matter if Rick Page is distracting a referee, sweeping, grabbing a leg, hitting somebody. Like, look, if he's getting the medal and just cannot stay out of it, which he clearly cannot, that becomes the issue. Having somebody there to offset that, because even putting him in a cage didn't work.
Right.
Having somebody there, because here's the thing. I think she can handle him. I think she could take him out.
100%. 100% she can. And, here's the thing. Tower has been dominant in SCA. He's also the OSWA champion. Now they're trying to flex their muscles in SWA. If Drox fails to get this title away from Tower, how close are Tower and Rick Page from basically running all of North Georgia?
Well, it's not a question at that point. Unfortunately for all those parties, it's like if you draw a line across that top, Cornelia, East Denali, Royston, that cross through there, they run those three.
Right. And what if John the Body Johnson win this election and he basically lets them run roughshod more than ever?
Yeah. The kryptonite would be something I mentioned yesterday. Look, like him or don't, doesn't matter. If Hunter James wins that number one contendership, I know a lot of, look, Drox is a threat. Drox could go toe-to-toe. They've got the balance. But the sleeper pick there to me is that Hunter James could possibly be. Here's the thing. Let me backpedal up and say this. I don't think it matters who walks out of that championship match. Hunter James is probably the number one threat both of them are going to face at SCA.
Yes. I 100% agree with you. The only way to find out, fans, is to be there at the Royston Dome live on Friday. Man, I'm telling you, if I was in town, I would do I'd do Thursday in Monroe. I'd do Friday in Royston, and then I'd find one of these Saturday shows to get to.
Well, man, if you want to talk about Saturday, let's just lead it off right out of the gate. Our show of the week this week is none other than our friends down in Savannah, Coastal Empire Wrestling. They have got a big show coming up. this weekend. And before we get into the meat and the potatoes of this, I kind of want to talk about the show is named Last Man Standing for a reason. Mm-hmm. And that is because Hakeem Young and Michael the Flying Crow Walker have just gone at each other. This thing's been building. It was like, we've got to get an end to this. We got to crown this definitively the Coastal Chaos Championship. Anytime you see Last Man Standing, you know there's been a thing there. It's built and built and built. Well, it's gotten so bad. Michael Walker, he sent us something and asked us to play it. And what do? We are always willing to oblige. So here's some words from Michael Walker.
When Hakeem Young debuted in Coastal Empire Wrestling, he stepped foot in that ring with me. And I was the first person in this company to beat him. But in that match, I earned Hakeem Young's respect and he earned mine. And we kind of became friends after that. I gave him the benefit of the doubt. I saw the good in Hakeem Young when no one else could. But then a couple of months ago, after my match with Rob Killjoy, what a lot of people call an absolute classic in the Coastal Empire, Dax Anthony came out and attacked me from behind. Everybody in that building saw that happen. And then here comes Hakeem Young to the ring with a steel chair and he saves the day. Everyone in that building is grateful for Hakeem Young. Everyone in that building is cheering him on. They're chanting, Hakeem, Hakeem, Hakeem. And he picks me up, he sits me down in that chair. And then he picks up Rob Killjoy, puts him in the corner. And he says, watch this. And that day, Hakeem Young made a decision. And then a month later, when he broke my foot in a car door, Hakeem Young made it in. I wrestled you, Hakeem Young, in a medical boot because you broke my foot. I had a broken foot, and I stood up and fought you like a man. But last month, after we were both counted out of the ring, I couldn't take it. I snapped. And all those times you hit me with that steel chair were in the back of my mind that I paid it back tenfold. And you couldn't stand up and look me in the eyes at me. You said you could take this Coastal Chaos Championship anytime you want. Well, right now, Hakeem Young, it's either your time or it's never. Hakeem Young, you thought I was weak because I trust you. Well, trust me when I say this. You said you are destruction. Well, I am resilience. You said you are devastation. I am the epitome of growth. You said you are chaos. I am the face of chaos. And on November 30th, the Flying Fro will be the last man standing.
There you hear it, man. You can see that it is beyond professional. It's personal. And a lot of times when you get to this type of match, that's exactly what it is. And, you know, it was funny that Hakeem Young went through a period where he wasn't trusted. He had a bad reputation. And everybody tried to give him a benefit of the doubt. And Michael Fro Walker there, it's kind of showing the point. He tried to give him a second chance. And then when he did what he did, we were kind of all like, hey, are you surprised at who he showed his true colors? Like, that's, you know, it is who he is. But sometimes, you know, we go to desperate, you know, measures to end this type of thing. And that's why you end up in a last man standing. Like, Michael Walker shows there is no quit in him. He wrestled with a boot on.
Yes.
A medical boot. Like, what is Hakeem Young? Ask yourself this. What are you going to have to do to that young man to keep him from getting up? And the question is, are you willing to take that much punishment that he's going to do to make you not be able to get up?
where I'm at this week for Thanksgiving, I thought, oh man, am I going to be closer to Savannah? And it's just outside of the range of what I would drive to. If I would definitely say if I were 30 minutes closer, 30 to 45 minutes closer, I would 100% be going to Savannah for this show, not just on the strength of that match. This is like been going on for months. If you follow this show, Walker and Young have been going at it. And this is it. It's not like the Survivor Series where this is going to settle the score. And that's just like one of the title matches on the line. You got Randall Reno taking on Chad Skywalker for the Coastal Empire Heavyweight title. And Chad Skywalker's got a chip on his shoulder because he just lost his IWE Mayhem title. So he's coming to bounce back and take this title from Randall Reno.
Reno, you kind of have to walk a fine line of, hey, are we underestimating him? And, he's lost, but he picked up a win and got it back from CT Keys. I mean, look, lots of stuff, Donald Jakes, etc., kind of helping him do this. But Chad Skywalker's, he's accomplished enough of it, and he's a champion, so don't underestimate him. And but just Chad Skywalker, kind of keep looking over your shoulder because that's the kind of champion Reno is.
Exotic Youth defending those tag team turmoil championships against KJ Impala and Parker Lee. That's Exotic Youth, a team that's been dominant. KJ Impala, a young man that's held tag team titles with Dylan Leslin, has also been a singles title, still a singles champion in places in Georgia. But that's a match maybe between the present and the future of Georgia tag team wrestling right there.
This could be, and not personalities in the weird way, but kind of in the meta way. When I say this is Exotic Youth, maybe looking in the mirror from a couple years ago.
Yes.
Like you're looking at a team that was you a few years ago, and you kind of remember how hungry you were and how much you wanted to be champions, and you fought and fought and fought what you were willing to do. Because, hey, it's just true. This is what were you willing to do become champions?
Mm-hmm.
That's what's staring at you across the ring. And sometimes it's a weird thing when you become on the other side. Now you're the hunted, not the hunter. And it's also, by the way, you're the vet, not the young dogs anymore.
Right.
So the more things, stay the same, the more they change maybe, or vice versa. Kind of keep in mind, and those two kids, look, we know them both pretty well. Super talented. I understand some people would be shocked if this was an upset and call it an upset. I don't know that I would. I would sit there and go, I'd be surprised, but not shocked. Big difference.
Yes. Yes. Pat Roach taking on Alex Kane. Chip Schuyler and Simon Sermon, they just lost those tag team titles to Exotic Youth. And Simon Sermon is going to be punishing Chip Schuyler for what happened versus Exotic Youth. So I'm interested to see what that is. And then you got Dax Anthony taking on Cam Jackson, who's been a mainstay up here in the Carolinas and now getting a shot at Coastal Empire Wrestling.
Yeah, I don't know if the Chip Schuyler Simon Sermon thing, I'm like, that's going to be something all its own.
Mm-hmm.
But don't sleep on this Pat Roach versus Alex. This is a big guy stuff. And by the way, these are wrestlers.
Yes.
So they both can fight. We get it. But this is a total match you want to kind of, when it hits the YouTube channel, because yes, folks, follow Coastal Empire Wrestling on their YouTube channel. When Pat Roach and Alex Kane hit YouTube, check it out, because these guys are going to go in there and they're old school to the core wrestlers. And I think that's what you're going to see out of this match. And it's kind of why I'm really intrigued for that one.
Yes, absolutely.
That's again, Coastal Empire Wrestling, Savannah, Georgia, bell time 7:30 p.m. at the VFW there in Savannah. That is our show of the week this week. Make sure you head if you're down at if you're one of those people that ran down to the beach, for Thanksgiving, Cup Saturday, you've probably seen enough of your family. You're ready to escape, shoot on over to Savannah and check them out. Also on Saturday, Premier All-Star Wrestling there in Carrollton. They call it the Church Without Walls. The bell time is 7 p.m. It's fan appreciation night. How cool is this for Premier All-Star to put this on? It's their final event of 2024. It's going to, again, right there at the Church Without Walls in Carrollton. Pretty loaded card and special price on tickets. You can get 4 tickets for $30. Kids 10 and under for free. But yet they're going to load out the card and they're going to give you Stevie Ray Frost against Aaron Dallas for the Premier All-Star Championship.
Yes. So Aaron Dallas has been kind of chipping away, and now has earned that shot against Stevie Ray Frost. And Aaron Dallas is really, to me, one big win away for moving up a level in Georgia, and this could be the one. Stevie Ray Frost has become a mainstay of a lot of Georgia promotions, but I would not bet against Aaron Dallas in this situation.
No, I would not either. But again, Stevie Ray Frost is on fire right now. He's going to be a tough one to beat. Dark City Violence Connection, they're going to be defending their Premier All-Star Tag Team Championships. You're also going to have Frankie Valentine with Tweety, AJ Black, Kenway, Brandon Watley, Jaden Baines returning. Bunch, again, fan appreciation night Saturday in Carrollton at the Church Without Walls, bell time 7 p.m. Kudos for them for those special ticket prices. Give them a follow and go and get your tickets ahead of time and head on down there on Saturday night as well. DWA, it looks like it's a big show, man, coming out of the gate for them in Williamson, Georgia. It is bell time is 7:30 p.m. They are at the Barnstormers Grill and Event Center there in Williamson. Card looks pretty loaded, dude.
You got Teriyaki defending the DWA Heavyweight Championship against Grayson Pierce, who's somebody we talked about yesterday. Najicism's going to be there. You got a six-way scramble match. The reigning Georgia Tag Team of the Year, Northside Heroes, going to be there. Warden. I mean, this looks to be a loaded card. Spectre, the Fade Area Militia. Not familiar with them. So wherever you're at in Georgia wrestling, you're going to see some folks that are probably familiar names to you, but you're also going to see some new folks, some new people maybe you haven't seen. And that's what makes a good card, is when you kind of see people that you're familiar with, but when you get introduced to new talents, and that's what we need to see more in Georgia. We need to see more new talents.
And it's also some young talents.
Yeah.
The Grayson Pierces and the Teriyakis. Teriyaki flies under the radar a lot, and I wish he'd get a little more attention. So I guess that's our job to do that. So we'll share a little love there. Him and Grayson Pierce, I think, are going to put on something really unique, something high flying, something something wild. If you're familiar with the WWA 4 school training, that's kind of like one of their things. And I think Grayson Pierce, we know, caught my eye at a Disruptor show. Then it was a Southern Honor show. Then it was an action show. So, he's starting to get out there and hit more and more places. And I think the more places he's seen, the more people are going to pay notice, pay attention to catch, he's going to get that notoriety a little bit around town. But, look, card's pretty loaded. Absolutely check them out there. Williamson, Georgia. Bell time, 7:30 p.m. Barnstormers Event Center. Give them a follow to catch your look, how many times do we have to repeat ourselves when we tell you, follow these promotions so you can constantly see as they're running new shows. Most of them now, you can get your tickets early. You can buy them through some type of a ticket website. And I just wish more people kind of were on board with that.
Yeah, here's what I need Teriyaki and Grayson Pierce to do. Understand the magnitude of being in the main event at a new promotion. Understand the responsibility of that. Post a promo. Share the poster. Do something to fill up that building. And then this is a prime opportunity to build your resume. To say, hey, I worked this promotion. The show that I wasn't in the main event, they do a pretty good number. And then the show I was in the main event, I did A, B, C, and D. This is the number this is the match. This is what I can bring to your show. So, like, I think, do wrestlers take for granted that, number one, they're even getting the opportunity to wrestle, and then they're in the main event? Make the most of it. Put some butts in the seats. That's all.
You know what? You want to know how you main event Southern Honor, Southern Fried Action, or whatever? Pick a promotion, disruptor, whatever. You got a main event, smaller shows, newer shows, call it what you will, and prove you can carry the burden of that. So that is our challenge to both of these guys, and we hope they deliver on 1,000%.
Absolutely.
Last but not least, Thanksgiving Star Wars, Georgia Championship Wrestling. They're in Buckhead, Georgia, at the Gotta Be Rolling Event Center. Bell time 7 p.m. Look, Georgia Championship Wrestling and Thanksgiving Wrestling go hand in hand, right?
Yes.
Friend of the show, in the main event, Terry Lawler will defend that Georgia Heavyweight Championship in a fans bring the weapons last man standing match versus Sean Nelson. I'll let you start because then I got a little bit of advice from Mr. Sean Nelson.
Here's my question. If you and I were going to this show, what weapon would you take? What weapon would you take to this show? What's something you could pull out of the house and take?
I'm sitting here staring at my Captain America shield.
There you go.
Now, that would never happen, but yeah, for the obvious reason. Or Thanos' glove, the Infinity Gauntlet. I've got that. So maybe that's the one that goes.
Yeah, I'm thinking I got a baseball bat with my name on it that I got from Dollywood. That'd be something good. You and I have learned the power of having a video camera with you in the ring this year. And listen, I don't mean no disrespect. I mean no disrespect. These fans in Buckhead probably have experience bringing weapons to a wrestling match.
Yeah. But here's my advice. Here's my advice to Mr. Sean Nelson, in case he's not familiar with his history. Long before he was the absolute fun and he was, the rocker Terry Lawler, he was, back in the day, he was a hardcore champion. One of the longest reigning of all time in Georgia, by the way. So when you thought like, oh, I'm going to get Mr. Fun Terry Lawler in the ring and maybe get this, that was probably not the best decision ever made. Because I'm sure the old man can tap into that kid that used to do those things back in the day and still play, pretty rough. So you might think you got one over. It's probably going to be a bad night for Sean Nelson. Now, I'm partial. I love me some Terry Lawler. I'm partial, and I say that unapologetically. So that's just my take. Anyway,
that's gonna be that's not the only title on the line. Georgia Heritage Champion Xander Seabolt defending against Alexander Lev. This might be Seabolt's toughest challenge to face for that Georgia Heritage title.
Man, this is almost like brothers fighting in a weird way.
Yeah, very much so.
And look, lots of love for Xander Seabolt. A lot of great work this year, from where he came from point A to point B, point C, D, or wherever we are in this. Again, it's tough on the show sometimes to put it along your person and say like him or don't like him. In my interpretation of Alexander Lev and where he's at in his career right now, he's built for this belt. He's the guy that carries it for, here in Georgia. He's like the new, when we talk about heritage, I think he's that new vision of where it's going.
I think you're 100% correct with that. And this being that champion he's going to have a chance to continue to prove himself and improve in the ring. The guy he beat for that title also in action, and sooner or later, Jacob Ashworth's going to want a rematch. But Saturday night, he's going to be taking on Thunderfoot. And the question is, if fans don't remember, like there was a fireball that cost Jacob Ashworth that title. Has he? I've never been hit with a fireball before. Has he recovered enough from that before this match?
It's a good question. I mean, and then it might be why he's not immediately jumping back into the ring for a rematch. Could be. Maybe he's wanting to heal up 100%. New tag champions were crowned at the last show as the Enterprise upset Unrated. They're going to have their rematch. Sean Hunter's going to return. He's going to face off against his former friends Chris Nelms in a grudge match. Leatherface, D-Money, these guys have been going at it for a while. They're going to face off as well this Saturday. Jay Shaw is going to defend the Brass Knuckles Championship against Jay Alpha Miller. Plus, Jerry Nelms is putting his TV title up at a six-pack challenge. Full card, loaded card out. Like I said, man, get your fill. Saturday by Saturday, lots of times we've had our fill with the families, all that family time. We're ready to kind of, hey, let me shoot off to the side and, kind of do our thing or whatever. And we'll see. I always say, check it out. No matter where you are in Georgia, there is going to be a show pretty close to you. And, look, by the way, we would be remiss out on this show. Look, Survivor Series is Saturday.
Yes.
So, it's an option as well. But, go out and check. Because here's my thing. Go ahead and check out a live show, a local indie show. Have fun. Take the kids. You can watch the PLE anytime. It's on demand on Peacock. You don't have to watch it live.
That's right.
Yeah, just stay off social media. That's real simple, whatever, So,
and listen, the more you support indie wrestling, the more indie wrestling we're going to get. And at the end of the day, indie wrestling is where the stars are made. It's where all these guys that you see on the PLEs, they got their start somewhere. So it's a big weekend. I know you guys are heading up to WrestleCade. Who's like at WrestleCade this weekend? Who's the one or two people you're really looking forward to connect with?
Man, look, I'm gonna admit something. I'm a really bad podcaster person to ask about this because, like in the beginning, it was about seeing, wrestlers and things like that.
Right.
The problem is like you said, they advertise a lot of them, but then there's some that are there that look, I love running into guys like, I bumped into Jeff Jarrett a couple times there. Like Al Snow, I love seeing Al Snow there. But just over the years, it's almost become a guy's weekend.
Mm-hmm.
Like I look forward to seeing, Rafe, Wild Bill, Denovius. I mean, all these guys that we've just, Hoop and, Jay-Z and all. So it's like all these guys that we just gotten used to every year. We see them there. Like that's kind of who I look forward to seeing the most.
Right. Right.
And, and then look at the bar at the end of the night, you can randomly be sitting there. And the next thing you know, I'm talking to Hoop. And the next thing you know, I'm talking to Dr. Tom Pritchard. That's what you're looking forward to at WrestleCade. Now, granted, the shows are spectacular. TNA's doing a thing this year, Turning Point's Friday, the Super Show's Saturday, the women's show on, so there's panels, and it's a constant thing. It's just like, but if you're asking me like the person, the people that I'm looking forward to, it's the friends, that we've made over the years that like, hey, we run into people that like, oh, he lives in Minnesota, he lives in Texas, he lives in the Carolina, so it's just a way to connect with a lot of those fans that we've seen over time. So.
Yeah, I think you've kind of reached the point where you're not going there to see Ric Flair. You're going for the behind the scenes, it's like a family.
Yeah.
It's like a family reunion. 100%. Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, before we get out of here, look, like, this is the indies, like we were talking about making the drives. I wanted to bring up while we're here. So a post literally was made essentially while we were recording. Southern Violence, the rumor is like, oh, hey, are they quitting? Are they out of here? Like, folks, read the tea leaves. I mean, like, go to their post. Look, my interpretation, everything I read, they're not going anywhere. They're not quitting. Rebranding is a thing. I'll leave it at that. I mean, that's if I can read what they posted and the videos they posted. Is Southern Violence done? Probably. Are the parties involved at Southern Violence? Probably not. So I look forward to what's coming out. I just wanted to put that out there because, I mean, literally getting messages and stuff while we're recording about it, and I'm like, guys, they're not going anywhere. That Southern Violence and Wrestling, maybe. But here's the argument. Maybe was it time for the name to be rebranded and changed? Maybe. That's an argument for a different one, whatever. But yes, folks, that's my opinion. That's my guess. That's my take. That I would go like, hey, I just think we're going to get a rebranding, reincarnation of some kind of it. So that's my take anyway. But hey, you know what we should have done? I probably could have just saved all of that because apparently a lot of people want to know what I thought, and I probably should have just put it behind patreon.com/.
That's right.
Pod.
That's right.
Did a little member thing there, and I still may. I may get off of here. I may get, reach out to the people and get some direct quotes or something and do it behind the paywall. And if I do, that's where it'll be, is patreon.com/tappedOutPod. But hey, guys, we talked about it a little bit ahead of time. TappedOutPod.com. You can go to our YouTube channel. You can still like it, subscribe to it, turn your notifications on. I want to appreciate and send a special thank out to you. Clearly, we have this one particular viewer who I'm not going to name out on the air that he listens because we knew news traveled fast within an hour last week. So thanks for your subscription and thanks for having that notification on. So, anyways, I promised I was trying to stay nice about that all week. But anyways, I thought we did a good job. I behaved all week and didn't go there. But it's still on the Patreon. Look, you can get a free membership. We strongly encourage it. I really do.
Yes.
It's the easiest way. Just get the free membership. You can set the feed to go to your Apple. It already goes to Spotify, whatever you sign up for under that Gmail. However, you use the email you did your Spotify with, and it'll actually give you the locked and unlocked just like you have a membership. So, So, again, I appreciate everybody that's made that transition back. YouTube makes life difficult sometimes for the membership stuff. We just wanted to end that and that alone. So, well, man, that's a lot of stuff.
So it was a full podcasting week for sure.
Absolutely. Well, you got anything else, man, you want to touch on before we get out of here? And because it's hey, if they're listening to it today, it's Thanksgiving. So happy Thanksgiving if you're listening on Thanksgiving.
Absolutely. I have so much to be thankful for, including you and Myron. Appreciate your friendship. Appreciate these podcasts. Appreciate all the great wrestling fans out there. And lots to be thankful for this year for sure.
Well, man, if that's everything we got, man, what's the old saying, man? If I've got nothing and you've got nothing, what time is it?
It is time to tap out.